Well, I guess the big banks are getting a little desperate. Once again, I should say. Got a 2-for-1 video for you right now. Bank of America set to fire 8,000 employees as banker layoffs accelerate. I'm going to tell you a little personal story here real quick in a second regarding that kind of. And then we have the subprime mortgage is back from zero hedge. It's 2008 all over again. Fire employees. Remember that? They fired a bunch of employees back then after the crisis, which this is just the beginning. I mean, it's just 8,000 for Bank of America. Trust me, this is the beginning of more firings. But then when they have the remember that? The subprime mortgages blowing up and they're doing it again? Well, I know they actually have already done some, but now they're like pushing it. First, I want to tell you about this Bank of America set to fire 8,000 as banker layoffs accelerate from zero hedge. Now, as Cliff High would say, as universe would have it, I was yesterday eating at a little Mexican restaurant with my buddy Frank. Work, lunchtime. And we always go over there at least once a week. But if he has to stop at his bank, which happens to be Bank of America, it's right next to it. So he's got to go deposit a check. Hey, let's go over there on the way to lunch, deposit my check, and then we'll head over right across the street and eat. No problem. That's what we always do. So I'm sitting in the car this time. Sometimes I go in with him just to get out and walk, stand around, get off my butt. I just got back from surgery, as you know, so ain't no getting out, hanging out nowhere. I'm sitting in the car. And man, it is taking a while. It is taking a while. What is going on? And finally he comes out. He's like, man, they had like 2 tellers and one can't do something. There's only like 1 teller and a whole line of people in there. He's like, I'm the next guy. I'm just waiting and waiting. I'm the next guy. And I'm just waiting. He's like, man. He's like, and this just older lady. She's there and she's like, is there anybody else in here that can come help us? Is there another there's another teller. You guys got 2 and one's not doing anything. The other one's here stuck. We're doing something. None of us, the line's not moving. Like the lady's getting mad, he's telling me. She's like kind of yelling, like, I'm sorry, ma'am, I'm sorry, we're working the fast we can. There's another branch down the street, such and such, if you like to go there. So you want me to leave here after I've been waiting in line all this time, get in my car, take how long it takes to go up there to wait in another line? You need more tellers. What is this? Excuse me, lady. Listen, you may not know me. I'm Jason4 from YouTube. You may not know that either. How about Realist News? Oh, no, you never heard of either because you don't pay attention to anything alternative. You listen to mainstream. Well, let me introduce myself. I like to wake people up to the real America, to the real society, to the real news. Not fake propaganda. And as it would be, Bank of America, the same bank you're going to, they're laying off 8,000 people. And they're going to lay off some more. So when that teller or whoever it was that said, ma'am, you can go to another branch because she didn't like your attitude, you can tell her, I think I'll go to another bank. And by the way, it won't be a too big to fail bank like yours. I'll go to a credit union or something else. Have a nice day. But see, that would be something only someone who was paying attention and knew about all these too big to fail banks. No one went to jail. They got trillions of dollars. They've been fined after fine after fine after fine for breaking the law. No one goes to jail ever. And the funniest part about this, my buddy Frank, he knows all about this. I mean, you can't possibly know me and be a friend of mine and not know any of this. It's just not even possible. Frank, why are you banking at Bank of America? Well, I've had him for a long time, and I know the teller. She knows me, kind of a personal relationship, if you will. And a bank is a bank is a bank, and okay, that's true, because it's all part of the grand system. But anyways, let me get on with this. Bank of America is set to fire 8,000 as banker layoffs accelerate. And the funny thing was, I read some of the comments earlier on this page on Zero Hedge. And someone says, like, oh, yeah, but it's not the brokers and the big guys playing with the markets for Bank of America. It's the little piddly tellers and stuff. And I thought, you nailed it. Lady, when you were pissed off at Bank of America yesterday, you're begging them for more tellers. There's 2 out there, only one's working. This comment is perfect for you because it is spot on. You're firing the smaller guys. You get less service. That's what always happens, including with government. Government has to tighten the belt, you get less service. Bank of America has announced that it will fire as many as 8,000 employees within its consumer division. Not the business division? You don't say. You know, the consumer division. The tellers, like this lady experienced. Imagine that. The Financial Times reports. The core reason given for the headcount reduction in this instance is that digital banking is picking up the pace and has reduced the need for back office staff and bank tellers. No kidding. So any of you people who want to come in and get a teller and you want to pull some money out, be prepared to wait in line. And like my friend said, he said, I was next. I went in there and I was freaking next. And I was waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. Finally, behind me, just like, you know, what's going on? There's two tellers, only one's. This is not under any circumstances the America you or I thought we knew and were taught all about growing up. This is called Banana Republic stuff, okay? This is a trend that Bank of America highlighted in its Q1 earnings press release as the bank showed that mobile banking users had shot up by 15% year over year. But even if a mobile banking user, you can't deposit a check through your mobile phone, okay? You can't pull out cash through your mobile phone. So what in the hell are you actually doing on your mobile phone? Checking a balance, maybe doing a wire transfer if you're able to? I mean, really. The bank has already slashed headcount by more than 10,000 in 2015 and has cut almost 40,000 from its consumer divisions alone since 2009, bringing the total at the end of Q1 to 68,400 employees slashed. Lady in line, I wish I could have been there to talk to you. We would have had a fantastic discussion. And then I could have came back on YouTube and did a whole video on it. I love when I talk to people, hear what's going on, either sheeple side or their awake side, and then saying, hey guys, check this out. There's a little conversation I had. Because that stuff's interesting. The layoffs are in line with what has been happening to its retail branch count, which has fallen by about 1,400 over the past 7 years. His name is not Thong. Thong Nguyen, president of retail banking, told a conference in New York this week that the numbers would, quote, probably go down to the low 60s, implying as many as 8,000 layoffs are on the horizon. The division is critical for Bank of America, accounting for roughly 66% of the bank's Q1 net income. I'm just going to stop there because I want to read you this other one. Subprime mortgage is back. It's 2008 all over again, submitted by Simon Black via the sovereignman.com website. Apparently, the biggest banks in the U.S. didn't learn their lesson the first time around. Of course not. They need to peddle their drug. Anything to get a loan with interest on it. Anything. Subprime, whatever. Because then when it balloons, and it's going to balloon. It always balloons. Then we can make a big chunk of interest off these mortgages. But hold on. Excuse me. Jason 4 here. What happened last time when you guys did that? Failure of mortgages, bankruptcy of people, foreclosure, after foreclosure. Let's do it all again. See how it works this time. Banks spent years making the most insane loans imaginable, giving no money down mortgages to people with bad credit and intentionally doing almost zero due diligence on their borrowers with the famous stated income loans. In other words, I make, and then you could even ask the guy giving you the loan, how much do I need to make to get this loan? 80,000? Honey. He says I got to make 80,000 to get this house. You know I only make 45. But honey, if he says you can get it, you can get it. I can get this? Yeah, you just need to make about 80. I make $82,000 a year. Thank you, sir. You're approved. That's how that went. Fraud was rampant, and if you wanted to qualify for a $500,000 mortgage, all you had to do was tell your banker that you made $1 million per year. Simple. They didn't ask, and you didn't have to prove it. Fast forward 8 years, and the banks are dusting off the old playbook once again. And here's the skinny. Through these special new loan programs, borrowers are able to obtain a mortgage with just 3% down. Now, 3% isn't a magical or as magical as 0% down, but just wait till you hear the rest. At Wells Fargo, borrowers who have almost no savings for a down payment can actually qualify for a lower interest rate as long as you go to some silly government-sponsored personal finance class. What the hell is this? I looked at the interest rates. Today, Wells Fargo is offering the exact same interest rate of 3.75% on a 30-year fixed rate, whether you have bad credit and put down 3% or have great credit and put down 30%. Well, damn, this sounds like a program for JSNP 4. Fought my bank for 5 years. They settled with me out of court to get me to stop fighting them, but it still goes down on my record as a foreclosure. I now have bad credit. Excuse me, I have bad credit. I'd like to sign up for the, what was that class called? Personal finance class. Had some problems with the foreclosure, got out of it, got out of debt for the most part. You know, we got to pay rent and whatnot, a couple little things, but I'm doing good now. And if you want to see my financial statements, I don't have to give you the, what do they call that? Stated income, or I just state my income to you. I'll actually show you this time easily. Here's my income. I do qualify for this house normally, but my credit sucks. Will old JSNP 4 could old JSNP 4 be approved that fast? The answer is actually yes. If the banks are really, really hurting bad and they need to give out as many loans as possible because the qualified high credit score persons are kind of shrinking. And when they shrink, that means there's less to pick from for you to peddle your financial schemes or loans to. So could you imagine, and this is way out there, I'm not even going to suggest that this is going to even be a possibility, except for maybe 1%. So I moved into this house, like, I'm trying to think, was it middle of January or middle of February? You remember? I think it was middle of February. So, and they gave us, so February, we'll talk February, March, April, May, June, 4 months. I've been here 4 months. Sure doesn't seem like it, does it? I'm going to say it was maybe January 15th. It had to be. 5 months. I'm 5 months into being out of the old house. We settled with the bank. Foreclosure is now on my record. Could you imagine a year later, because you know this lease is a yearly lease, I say, what the hell? What the hell? Let's see if we can get a house. Let's just see. And I call up maybe Wells Fargo. Listen, several months back, you guys had a interest rate of 3.75, a fixed rate for 30 years. And I saw that if you have bad credit, you don't got a lot of money saved up, you can put down 3% if I go to a finance class. Listen, I'd like to go to that finance class. Do you think it's possible that I can get a mortgage? Here's all my information. Take a look at my little credit history and tell me what you think. Could you imagine if they get back to me and say, you're approved? You, sir, are approved. Could you imagine? The only thing that I would actually have to think about is in literally 6 months from now will be a year that I've been here. And it's actually January. So, beginning of 2017, what are the housing prices going to be like by that time? Are they still going to be hanging in there like they are now or not? Because last thing I'd want to do is say, well, holy crap, I actually got approved. Let me go ahead and jump on this now and get a house while I can because I just got approved. Or do I wait, keep paying rent maybe another year as the housing system implodes, thus prices implode, and get a much better deal? Because for $1,550 a month we pay here, that's $1,550 a month that isn't going to a house that I own. It's going to someone's pocket. But the savings could be incredible in 2 years, potentially. And if they're gearing up to give the old everyone's approved teaser rates, ARM adjustable rate mortgages, they're geared up to do that again. I already saw how that ended, but that took a few years to play out. And if they start doing that now, I don't think it's going to be a few years before that implodes. I wouldn't think, but anyways, could you just imagine that? So let me just finish reading this to you. At Wells Fargo, borrowers who have almost no savings for a down payment can actually qualify for a lower interest rate as long as you go to some silly government-sponsored personal finance class. I looked at the interest rates today. Wells Fargo is offering the exact same rate of 3.75% on a 30-year fixed rate, whether you have bad credit and put down 3% or have great credit and put down 30%. But if you put down 3% and take the government's personal finance class, they'll shave 1/8% off the interest rate. In other words, if you are a creditworthy borrower with ample savings and a hefty down payment, you will actually end up getting penalized with a higher interest rate. Could you imagine? Remember when I used to always talk about the people I loved who would always do the right thing or tell others, that's wrong, Jay Snip. You didn't pay your mortgage. You weren't doing the right thing. And you know what I said then? And I know a bunch of my subscribers can vouch for me saying this. All of the people that were quote unquote doing the right thing are going to be the ones who got screwed. And here it is, June 15th, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 2016. And here you have it in black and white writing. The people with good credit and a big down payment, you don't get the nice interest rate. You got to pay a little bit more. How is doing the right thing working out for you? That's all I got to say about that. The banks have also drastically lowered their credit guidelines as well. So if you have bad credit or difficulty demonstrating any credit at all, they're now willing to accept documentation from non-traditional sources. That's funny. I could have swore I said that would happen. When you have a pool of people who used to have good credit, great credit, and it was this big, and then it was this big, and now it's this big, and the bad credit people are this big. For your financial livelihood, for you to stay alive as a banking institution that gives out mortgages, loans to people, you got to give them out to people. So I'm here to tell you, as I predicted, I'm saying it because I did predict this when I was going through this foreclosure nightmare, and I was keeping people up to date on my YouTube channel about the whole thing. And I said it then. This is what you will see come, because you could want a whole society with good credit, but if reality says there's a whole society with mostly bad credit, you're going to have to adjust now, aren't you? So this is just good news for me and other people like me that don't have good credit anymore, but are building it back up, have a decent income, can go and afford a house if they really wanted. And I'll be honest, if by chance end of the year comes, November-ish, I just start poking around online. Oh, piece of property, a few acres, whatever it is, maybe a house on the lake, just something nice, nicer than Jason It 4 has ever had. Put it that way to you. And it's affordable. As in, we were paying $1,550 a month for rent. We can actually, if we get approved, this house is actually less of a payment per month. And it's freaking awesome. It's our dream house. I'm going to tell you, I'm not going to say, well, I'm going to pass on that one because I'm expecting a big crash to come in real estate. And I want to wait it out and see how it plays out. If I found the perfect house, I would jump on it. But that also means I better have a good interest rate, number one, monthly payment, that sort of thing. It's not going to be an older house. It's got to be a newer house. Our first house was an older house built in '64. And yeah, that's just not going to work. This house we're in right now, which we rent, was built in 2005. So it's 10 years old, roughly 11, whatever. Anyways, that'll be another discussion for a later time, because believe me, if old Jason It 4 goes out and gets a loan in a single year after filing for bankruptcy, or not bankruptcy, excuse me, after having the foreclosure put on my record, that will be something for the history books, and you could bet your sweet behind old Jason It 4 will be doing a video on that. Because that would be the story of a lifetime, would it not? That would be the story of a lifetime. And it would also show you how bad of a situation these banks and our financial institutions really are in. Anyways, hope you enjoyed that bit of information. Take care.